Morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Tuesday. And again, I hope it finds you well out there as well. I got so many things, right? Where do we begin? How about this? Jeff Bezos. Yeah, he sent up his new wife. I think it's his wife, girlfriend, fiance, whatever she is. A bunch of ladies up in the space there. And it was pretty funny because I was watching something. They're talking about the world's biggest looking penis and I was thinking, they're talking about Jeff Bezos. No, they were actually talking about the rocket ship that sent these ladies up into space. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know a lot about design, but apparently that's how they decided to design it. Did anyone else recognize? I was like, wow, that's, yeah. Okay, well, and apparently it was very liberating going all the way up there and coming all the way back down. I think the whole thing took like 10 minutes. Yep. So, I don't know. Would you pay for that, I guess? What would that cost? I mean, I think Disney's expensive. I don't know what a ticket on that thing would be, but in any event, that was my attempt at humor today. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And everybody's like, okay, what's going to happen? Who's selling treasuries? And it's I've seen so many different people. It's China selling them. It's Japan selling them. It's the EU selling it. It's the hedge fund selling it. You know what? I think it's probably a little bit of all of them. I don't think it's any one. That's just me. I could be wrong. I think, because it really wouldn't be smart to dump a large amount all at once, right? You do it a little bit at a time, and I think this is what is at stake here. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was out saying, listen, if the Fed won't step in, talking about the Treasury markets, that the Treasury will take action in its own hands. So already right now, I know it's weird, but they know we have a problem. And instead of, hey, we got a problem, guys, we got to rein this in. They just refuse to do it. And again, maybe you're for the tax cuts. And I don't know what else to call them. Extending the tax cuts, what have you. We don't have the money to pay for it all. We don't. I wish we did, but we don't. The problem is, if you're going to do all this other stuff, you got to give them something, right? And in any event, we're spending more than we're taking in, and we keep spending more than we take in. And Doge, even if you use now the Doge site, they're down to like $150 billion that they said they saved, and even that's kind of debatable. And now the Treasury Secretary is like, well, if the Fed is late, which they always are, the Treasury will start buying the treasuries. Right? Aren't you the one that's issuing the world's greatest? And the funny thing about it is the Treasury doesn't have any money. I mean, today is tax day, right? It is April 15th, so I guess happy tax day. But we're in emergency measures. We don't have the debt, we're at the debt ceiling. And the Federal Reserve's checkbook is running out of money. I mean, he even said, well, we'll be out of money by sometime in May or early June. So I don't even know how the Treasury would buy the debt that nobody else wants. And then what happens to it? The whole thing's really confusing, Jason, but I think for people out there when they're looking at what to do, and I know yesterday I kind of got on you, there's no good outcome here. I wish there was. We don't really want these jobs back. I know you say you do, but you don't. You don't. Do you know why General Motors and Ford and everybody else builds parts somewhere else? I mean, really. Do you really think? Let's just think about this logically for a second. And I don't know, pick apart. Brakes, okay? We don't build the brakes here. Why not? Well, we've done the math, see? And we can build the brakes in Mexico and then ship them to our plants in America for less money. It's the only reason. I promise you, none of these manufacturers are manufacturing things from, I don't pick a country, because it actually costs more to do it there. They don't. And this is the part I think people are missing. Right? I mean, listen, if the unemployment rate was 7, 8, 9%, okay, maybe, right? Because people need jobs. I don't know. I don't even know who's going to work all these jobs that we apparently need. Problem is, you really know how much more it's going to cost? And then what happens when Trump leaves office? Do they all go back again? 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Tax season is here. Earnings have started. We always get the banks first. And we got the same thing today. Bank of America, it was okay. I mean, it was better than expected interest income. This is what you hear, and it was. What they don't tell you is all the places they missed, but it was okay. Very much like all of the other banks that had reported earnings. And again, they all said the same thing. There's trouble ahead. But that part doesn't seem to make it out. I know that Trump's now talking about, well, I'd like to help out some of the automakers. They need time to move these jobs back. The only ones that can do it are Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, if they still have some of these plants where they have space or they were empty but they were, not kept in disrepair. And even then, like I said, it's just going to cost more. I think that's the part most people are not understanding in all of this. And I'm just going to say this. You know what? First, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see where the markets are. The Dow's up. Not a lot, but it's up a little bit, up 150 points. The S&P's up 20. The Nasdaq's up 80. The 10-year note fell yesterday. Very quiet today, 435. And again, give it a few days. This is really what is going to drive the markets, is all eyes will be on the bond market. Gold's up, shouldn't be surprised, 32.20. Silver's pretty flat at just above 32. Now, I want you to start doing a little critical thinking, okay? How many of you out there were big Elon Musk fans, okay? How many? Lots of you, right? Lots. Yes, Doge and wasteful spending, right? Because it makes us mad. And we know that, and listen, I told you way before. They're not finding $2 trillion. They're not finding $1 trillion. They're not, I even told you, they're not finding $500 billion. This 150 that they're saying, maybe. That sounds about right to me. Why do I say that? Why was I so confident that I was going to be right? Well, simple. They said they weren't going to do anything with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and defense. Well, okay. Can't do anything about interest on it. Didn't leave a lot of money left. You know, they cut out about 10%. If we used 150 million, they cut out about 10% of what was left. What was funny, did anyone, again, critical think here for a minute. They couldn't find any issues in the Defense Department budget? Wasn't that odd? Really? I mean, they're the one, they can't even audit their own books. But did you hear any? I didn't. Heck, I didn't even hear about a toilet seat, a wrench, a bolt. I didn't hear nothing. That tells you something. Critical think again. But listen, I liked Elon. I still like Elon. I don't know if I trust Elon, but I like him. I think he was truly trying to do good things. Right? Let's clean up some stuff. Well, do you know what he said about the tariffs? And now all of a sudden Elon's on the outs now. Right? Because he said, yeah, well, this doesn't make sense. It's idiotic. It's moronic. And I'm asking you to critically, why would he say something like that? Well, because he knows. And again, like I said, there's no good choice. But I'm going to say two things. We don't want the jobs because they're hard, first of all. Manufacturing jobs are hard jobs. Right? You're on your feet all day. You're doing it's all a hard job. Right? Do you think anybody wants to, sewing machine sweatshop? Nope. Right? Most of these jobs, listen, they're not automotive jobs. Listen, we're going to bring all these, what are we going to end up with? I don't know, 5,000 jobs? Let's go crazy, 10,000? Can we get 10,000 people to even work it? I don't know. We should be out there. Listen, I was all for these tariffs when I thought it was a negotiation. Right? I saw today, the big headline today, hey, we're real close to a deal with the UK. What? Who cares about the UK? By the way, you know who we're not close to a deal with? We're not close to a deal with the EU. As a matter of fact, they came out today and said, okay, you know what? We're not making any progress. We're getting ready to retaliate. We're not close to a deal with China. We're not close to a deal with Canada and Mexico. Jason, these are the ones that actually matter.
Well, and I noticed that the countries that we got to deal with are very important countries as far as keeping the dollar going. Trump has said he's going to defend the dollar with everything he's got, right? And he said before he was elected that the tariffs are about saving the dollar. Save the dollar, print the dollar, inflate your way out. I mean, that's what it is. Elon Musk is probably changing his tune a little bit because he wants to seem smarter when the history books have all his quotes. He's suddenly looking at all his Twitter posts. He's like, yeah, some of those things don't make me look so good, I brought some of those on the half-empty cup of Joe. Some of those things he said, he's like, yeah, it's these guys aren't the bankers. Notice the Rothschilds aren't clicking on their X posts very often, Joe, right? The real bankers, the ones that actually own the Fed, 52% of the Federal Reserve is owned by the Rothschild family. 24% is owned by the J.P. Morgan family and such, and 24% is owned by the Rockefeller family and such. I don't see the Rockefellers talking about the tariffs and the China war and all this stuff, Joe, because they benefit on both sides. they're going to let Trump and Elon Musk and everybody else, the Bidens and the Obamas take the falls for all this stuff. And those guys signed on to those jobs. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of these guys, I think they know what they're doing, Joe. I think they know what they're doing. I think Trump knows the situation. Trump made several comments before he was elected in 2024 that he didn't want to be the next Herbert Hoover. Well, he said it because he's being set up to be the next Herbert Hoover, right, Joe? That's where we're headed. We're headed for an economic reset. The presidents that are going to be in power the next couple of terms are going to be fall guys, Joe. It's just the way it is. Elon Musk is going to try to distance himself, I guess, just like anybody would. Trump likes the tariffs. He could just let the inflation go, right? But then the fingers would be pointed to directly at the economic system instead of him or China or whatever, right, Joe?
Here's the real simple part. Trump's making a bet that the tariffs, because he needs the money, will only raise the debt, a couple $100 billion a year when he does, because he wants those tax cuts. And I'll say this, I'm all for tax cuts for the poor. You know what? Leave the rich out of it. Leave the rich out of it, and then we can maybe pay for it. But that's not going to happen. Let me give you a good idea. Ready? Jamie Dimon, who had never sold a share of J.P. Morgan in his whole life. Of course, he started what he sold last year. Remember? Sold a ton of it last year. Well, guess what? He has to file. See, because when you sell so many shares, you gotta tell people. Now, we don't find out till after the fact. But Jamie Dimon just sold another $31.5 million worth of his company's shares, according to the latest regulatory filing. By the way, just to give you an idea, Jamie Dimon made $39 million. That's his pay cycle. And now he just sold another 133,693 shares. Why do I bring it up? I only bring it up because I want you to continue to understand that the big guys, they already know what's going to happen. Jason and I, we're left to speculate and put the pieces together and at least give you an idea of what's coming. They already know. You want to bet when Jamie Dimon sold those shares? You think it was before or after the bank shares got hammered during the sell-off? Yeah, you decide. You decide. I'm telling you, and yesterday I was in I'm losing my patience for stupidity. And I get that you want, oh yes, right, because I wanted tariffs, I want these jobs, and all that. I get it. But we really don't. I'm telling you. What we should be doing is here's what we can, what we can sell? Energy and defense. That's what we should be doing. Right? Other than that, all of this nonsense with the terror, they treat us unfairly and blah, blah, blah. You want to be treated fairly? Let's go back to NAFTA and GATT. Listen, people say they want to be treated fairly, but then they really look at what happened with Elon Musk and just letting go of some people in the government. Half the country lost their mind. We don't really want to be treated fairly. We just want what we think we want. And the realities are everybody in the world is saying, okay, you know what? You've hit the limit. We finally figured out, Jason, how much debt was too much. We saw it with BRICS, right? You can blame Joe Biden. He was a big weenie and all this other stuff. Didn't know what day of the week it was. Now what we're seeing is even Japan, Europe, South Korea, I'm telling you, they're all selling treasuries. All of them. Right? I love these morons. Oh, China's doing it all. No, they're not. They're not that dumb. And then you have the Treasury Secretary. He just comes out and says it. Yeah. If the Fed doesn't hurry up and start quantitative easing again, Jason, we're going to start buying it.
Right, and Joe says we don't. Joe and I have to speculate. However, if you do take some interest in the subject, history has already laid out kind of the blueprint of what they do. It's just that they make the story. They put a little, sparkle and jazz. Right, they put some glitter on. Make it seem, well, this is totally different. This is totally different. This is 9/11. Yeah, we got to crash the market. This is a .com bubble. We got to crash the market. This is 87. This is the housing crash. This is NBAs, mortgage-backed securities, and CDOs, right? Oh no, it's COVID. It's COVID this time. It's COVID. A pandemic can't happen with a good economy. It's a pandemic. It doesn't have a monetary. It's a germ, right? It's a virus. But no, it happened right when the market was going to crash.
800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason sitting here on this Tuesday. A couple of things. Again, nobody wins. China has now pulled the plug on all purchases from Boeing, canceling its orders, refusing to take deliveries. At the same time, it is ordering that its companies purchase an equipment that are not from the United States. So I guess that's a big win for Airbus. On top of that, China is now restricting the sale of rare earths to the United States. And, of course, we know this is necessary for defense, right? And again, at the end, we may win the trade war with China. We may. Matter of fact, I think we would. How about that? I think we would. I think we would win. But at what cost? At what cost? This makes no sense at all. And yet, I guess we're sitting here thinking that this was necessary. Listen, even U.S. businesses, they're now suing the Trump administration because he's doing this because he declared an emergency. This is how this is happening. And they're saying, well, the trade wasn't an emergency, right? In an attempt to get this back. Jason, I don't understand how this is going to benefit anybody. Look at what's happening in the treasury markets. This will have a lasting effect. The EU citing scant progress being made says that they indicate that a 20% reciprocal tariff would have been reduced to 10% for 90 days. The EU said that they made a proposal for both sides to remove all tariffs on industrial goods, including cars. That was rejected by the United States, and now the EU is saying, well, that was our best and final. So, Jason, I don't know. Where do you go from there? I don't know.
Well, and we talked about this last week, tariffs getting higher coming from both sides, and then it would probably break down trade supply lines, right? And then what's that going to do for the prices of goods and services, right, Joe? And we saw the inflation coming out of COVID, and in 2021, the number one asset class out there was used cars. The thing that went up the most wasn't gold, it wasn't silver, it wasn't the stock market, it was used cars. supply lines. This is going to create the Sanford and Son, all the junkers they're getting ready, man. They're rubbing their hands together like, we know what's coming our way. All the new stuff isn't going to be shipped as easy, so they got to come get our old stuff. So we're going to see that, Joe. A lot of these tariffs and a lot of what's getting set up, I don't know if there's going to be a war or whatever they're going to add to the news cycle that's going to be scaring people, but sure looks like they're trying to move to some sort of a slowdown, a stoppage of the market. I mean, COVID really, if you look at COVID, they stopped the markets. Things were going to crash, and they just stopped everyone in place, right? So that they could let the thing crash for 6 weeks, and then they got the ball rolling and print, emergency powers, right, Joe? And nobody, and Joe, we were talking a lot on the air. We weren't at the moment that all that money was being printed. We covered it, but there was just so much other gloom and doom in the news that we didn't cover the printing. Even us, we're the ones that tell you about the inflation and the printing more than anybody. We didn't cover it probably as much as we probably should have. We should have been beating our chest saying this isn't about a disease. This is about printing money. Well, this time, Joe, I won't be caught without saying it. They start printing, we're going to talk about it. I don't care what emergency is flying around the news cycle. I'll try to make sure that everybody understands. Here's the money printing, or at least it looks like it's money printing. We'll get a FOIA request in 10 years, right? And we'll prove it later, but. The 2008 housing crash, it wasn't 5.5 trillion printed. They ended up printing 29 trillion. That's what that was all about. That was an economic mess, and it was kicking the can down the road. Joe, we don't know what's going to happen, just like you said earlier, but we've seen it happen time and again. And the gold guys protect their money the best. If you're smart and you know how to buy this crypto coin or buy this stock or sell this way and move sideways into that. If you're good at that stuff, that's great. The mechanic's going to make his money being a mechanic. The guy who owns the restaurant is going to make his money, serving food during whatever disaster happens. These things won't stop. But Joe, when it comes to that extra money or your personal finances, you better have yourself either be really smart with your investments, or you better keep whatever your shortcomings are mentally, financially, you better have it saved in gold and silver, Joe.
Listen, I don't know how else to say it. It truly is the one place you have to have a lot of exposure to right now. Because, again, I wish there was better outcomes. I wish there was. I wish that we could bring these jobs back and have somehow prices go down, right? And not have supply line issues and not create all of this inflation. But at the end of this, it's always the same, right? It's always the same. Which is, we want to print more money. I don't know why people don't understand. It's so simple. Right? In this case, for Donald Trump, right, he wants tax cuts. And again, I get it. That's so easy because let's face it, who wants to pay more in tax? Here it is, tax day. Who wants to pay more in taxes? Well, let me tell you who wants to pay more in taxes. Absolutely nobody. Do you know how you get less taxes? You spend less money. Shrink government. And you can have less taxes. We don't really want to shrink government, right? We want you to pretend that Social Security is solvent. We want you to pretend that Medicare and Medicaid is solvent. We want you to pretend that we can spend $1 trillion plus on the military and be solvent. None of those things are true. None of them. We're back here, 800-951-0592. Gold's up a 10 spot, 32.21. Silver, just under 32 and a quarter. The Dow is up like 50 points right now. The best deal on the board is still the $20 gold pieces, $34.25, 10 or more, $3,400 at 800 951 0592. And I'm just going to break it down for you. I'll make it really easy. Anybody under the age of probably 40 should be screaming for us to cut the you-know-what out of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They should be. But they're not. Guess what they're doing instead, right? Bernie Sanders is going to Coachella and telling them that the government needs to give you everything, right? And they all clap and cheer, and it's so funny. No. If you really want to have your economic freedoms, we have to do it. Not maybe. Have to. It's the only way to do it, but that's not what they want. Most of us think we have to have it. See, and this is where we went wrong. This is where we went. It's not the government's job. It's not their job. Let us fend for ourselves. We were the best country on earth when we fended for ourselves, period. And then here comes the Federal Reserve in 1913. Next thing you know, here comes the income tax. Isn't that funny? Now, most people don't know their history. Right? Then 1933, after the bankers, right, took over, took the gold away from everybody. Oh, here comes Social Security. Why? Well, because these older people that couldn't work and things went bad and they didn't have any money. And they tax, and they tax, and they tax. I wish it would be different, but seriously, where do you think we're going? Have you done any critical thinking? Any? Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, defense, and interest on the debt. Listen, and then let's just say in the next 4 years, just those four things, it's going to be well over $7 trillion. It's not doable. It's not doable. It's not even close to doable. And it's laughable that they sit there and they just want to lie to you and tell you, oh, no, well, somehow we can do it. I will say this. The one thing Alan Greenspan had right. Well, he had two things right. You know, Alan Greenspan was a gold guy. People don't know that either. Right up until they made him the head of the Fed. Now he's a gold guy again, by the way. We did have a chance. We could have bought ourselves another 100 years if we had actually paid off the debt. Remember what he said. I don't know, people. It's important. Why is it so important? Because it was right. Hey, we can afford Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid if we don't have to pay interest on the debt. And guess what? That would be true. Think about it. If we didn't have to pay interest on the debt, we'd only be running, a deficit of like $1 trillion. We would all jump up and down for $1 trillion debt. But we didn't. And now they're trying to sell you on some nonsense that we can put tariffs on, bring all these jobs back, charge everybody more money, and we can grow our way out. Right now, we got to spend $6. The government's got to spend $6 to get $1 growth, and it's going to be $7. And in the next 3 years, it's going to be $10. That's not growth. That is so inefficient that anybody with any common sense would be like, dude, let's get rid of this government thing. This is terrible. Don't buy gold. See what happens. There you go. That's my big pitch today. See what happens. This is easy. It's not even complicated. It's right in front of everybody's face, but you just don't want to believe it. Nobody does. I mean, come on. We can't even afford to buy a house anymore. Seriously. Who can honestly afford to buy a house? Well, I can buy a house. How? Well, my parents gave me some money. My grandparents died, and I took their house. Yeah. No, we want to rely on the government. The government takes, and it's going to take everything you've got. That's why you put it in the gold. That's what's coming. Patriot Radio News Hour. I know. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Wow. 35,890 properties foreclosed on in March alone. That was up 11% from the month before. I don't know what happened. Wow. That's a pretty big jump. They're saying that get ready, that they expect foreclosure filings to rise between 15 to 20% in 2025 compared to 2024. So, no one can afford a home. Some of these people, I don't know if it's interest rates, these adjustable rate mortgages some people were getting into because a lot of people thought rates were going to come right back down. Jason, didn't happen. I don't know, but it's just another sign, right? When we're sitting here talking about what is expected anyway, I know I've been really negative. I'm going to straighten it out today. Tomorrow I'll try to be a lot more positive, but it's hard. It's hard. And it's not doom and gloom. It just is what it is. We need to be cutting Social Security and Medicare and cutting government and saying, government, get out. Instead, they cheer Bernie Sanders at Coachella because why? Well, the government should give you everything. Jason, it's just, it can't work this way. It can't.
It's. I don't think it's been working, Joe. It's in America. We're fortunate, I guess, to have a slow slide, right? It's just slowly sliding. But in other parts of the world, they've had much worse, right, Joe? There's been other parts of the world that when we have these crashes, it affects them deeply. I think what you're seeing on this one, why you're so strongly worried about this one, is this. This looks like it could be a lot worse than 08, right? This thing looks like it has the legs to be very, very severe, Joe.
Well, the reason why I say it is, go back. I remember 08, 07. I was here doing these shows. Everybody was running to the dollar. Everybody.
Yep.
It was the only game in town. Nobody's running to the dollar. That's the thing. When you think about isolationism, if you want to use that word, well, that makes sense. Oh, well, listen, if we're not going to be buddies, well, then I'm going to stop buying your stuff. If you're not going to buy my stuff, I'm not going to buy your stuff. Critical thinking again. What do you think that means? And I love all these people trying to, it's all China. No, it's everybody. It's everybody. And here's the other thing. Why don't we know who it is? We got computers, AI. You know why? Because we want it to be a dirty little secret. Well, we're going to have to wait and look at the data. They'll tell us about who it was later. Why? So that way you can't prepare. Period. It's the only reason. Only the rich people get the benefit. That's it. 800-951-0592.